The goal is not for us to save them. The goal is to be there when they're ready.
It's reassuring that we're in an industry that we can do something. And I think the really valuable lesson in the training is that we're salon professionals. Like we're not trained in this. So, and it's not up to us to solve the problem. I literally once had to just get up and flee from my life and go into hiding and like really get away. And it was very serious and very dangerous at the time, terrifying. And I remember thinking, well, now if I could only go 2 kilometers today, where would I be? We don't learn when everything's going great. We only learn when things are hard and tough.
We're really lucky, I think, to have personal relationships with so many of our clients. They come in and we get to chat about their lives and what's going on with their kids and how their work is going and, things like if they've had holidays. Sometimes we have a client who comes in and maybe isn't acting like their normal bubbly self. I'm really glad to be sharing this conversation that I had with Liz. She's the UK ambassador for Shearhaven about the signs to look out for when a client or a team member may be facing domestic abuse at home and what you can do about it to support them. But really quick before we start, I wanted to let you know that this episode is brought to you by the Salon Mastery Program. The Salon Mastery Program helps salon owners break through the growth ceiling. Do you know that thing? 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. Been there myself before. And step into being $1 million salon owner. You'll learn the strategies to elevate your salon without becoming overwhelmed, overstressed. Hey, no more winging it. All right, let's get into the episode. Here is how you can help someone combat domestic abuse and how to recognize the signs. Enjoy. Liz, welcome to the Salon Owners Collective podcast. Very pleased to have you here.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm really looking forward to this.
So for those that don't know who you are, Liz, who are you? Where are you in the world? What do you do? How did you get to be doing it?
Okay, so my name is Liz McKeon. I'm based in Dublin in Ireland, so I'm on the completely other side of the world to you. My title is, work-wise, professionally, is Salon Business Expert. So I specialise in business development in the hair, beauty, nails, barbering sector, providing a wide range of services, everything from one-to-one training, Zooms, business owners retreats, on-site work. Yeah, so I have a very varied and interesting job. And I think how I started was prior to starting Salon Business Expert, I had had various businesses. I had had a distribution company. I'd had a health club for ladies. I had 2-day spas. I actually brought the first spray tan machine into Ireland. I had a little clinic where I specialised in retail, really good skincare treatments and retail, and got my retail to 70% of my turnover. So I had a very varied career as an entrepreneur. And some things went really well and some things didn't go so well. And I found when I needed help, there were very few people out there, business consultants in inverted commas, who knew or understood our industry. And I used to think, well, I can't be the only person who hits a brick wall from time to time. And the why I do what I do is because when I found things tough, there was nobody to help who knew the industry. And that's how I started. Yeah.
I love that. Now, I know that as beauty professionals, let's call ourselves that, we're in this really unique position where we have a professional relationship with our client, but we actually have a really personal relationship with our client. Like, I think we're really lucky and really privileged to be able to have that. And sometimes they can be quite tricky, and specifically we're talking about domestic abuse. And we're in this unique position where we have a relationship that potentially we can support or intervene. But I don't really want to speak to this, Liz, because this is not my area of expertise, but I know that you have some deep knowledge about this. You have some real true experience about this. So why don't we start with, how did you get involved in caring about this topic and supporting the industry in this topic? Why don't we start with that?
Okay. So in 2021, I was appointed the UK, the British and Irish ambassador for an industry training called Shearhaven. And Shearhaven is a 20-minute training developed for salon professionals, teaching us how to recognise the signs of domestic abuse. And the background to my discovering that was during one of the lockdowns, and our lockdowns in Ireland were very severe. At one point, we were only allowed to travel 2 kilometres. So during that time, I remember sitting at home on a Saturday night, looking at television, nothing else to do. I think I'd put my night cream on at 12 o'clock or something that day at midday. I was like, I've nothing else to do. I may as well get ready for bed now. So I couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do anything. And I was just watching television. And then I just started scrolling through LinkedIn. And I found this link to Shearhaven. I thought, well, sure, I may as well do this. I had no idea what it was. So it was 20 minutes. And at the end of the 20 minutes, you do a little question and answers. And then it turns out the following week, I got a certificate online to say I had completed the training. But I did the training, but it just stayed on my mind. There was something about it. There's more to this. And the following week, do you remember everybody was just doing online training the whole time because we had nothing else to do? So on my weekly newsletter, I just sent out this newsletter to my database. Maybe you could add this training to your list of online training. Maybe you'd like to do this. You might just save a life. Now, the training has been developed by a lady called Susanna Post in Nashville in Tennessee. And at this point, it was hosted by Barbicide and Barbicide Disinfection. So they were hosting it online. And I subsequently found out that they were wondering in America why the numbers of downloads in the UK just shot up. So 4,500 people downloaded in Ireland. Nobody answered me. Nobody said, thanks, Liz, or I've done the training. I didn't hear from anybody, but I just found out that 4,500 people had downloaded it. So during that time, as I was sitting there ready for bed at 12 o'clock in the day, I thought to myself, like, this is serious, because as we know, the rates of domestic abuse went up significantly during the lockdowns. But it also brought me back to many years ago when I was in that situation. And I literally once had to just get up and flee from my life and go into hiding and like really get away. And it was very serious and very dangerous at the time, terrifying. And I remember thinking, well, now if I could only go 2 kilometres today, where would I be? I'd be in the sea or dead or something, because like 2 kilometres would not have kept me safe. So this whole thing just stayed in my mind. And I started to notice business owners that I had worked with putting out little posts on social media. If you want to have a chat, call me. If you want me to call the authorities, ask for a blue eyeshadow number, such and such, and whatever. So this just kept swirling around the back of my mind the whole time. So eventually I contacted Suzanne in Nashville, and we got speaking. And I was just appointed then the Irish and UK ambassador. So that's the background.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, well, look, I'm really intrigued now, of course, because I would love to know. I believe the training teaches us to recognize some signs and tell us a little bit about, like, what are the things that we're looking for. I heard you talk about some blue eyeshadow. Take us into that world a little bit.
Okay, so I think because of my own personal background, it's something I probably have had a subconscious awareness about. And in the course of my work, I've had a few occasions where I have spotted the signs in a salon, but somebody else may not. So, for example, I remember one day being in a hair salon and working with the owner in the office, and a junior came in and asked the owner, could she go out and look at somebody's alopecia? And from the way she was describing it, I knew that's not alopecia. That person has had the hair yanked out of her head. That's what that is. Another time I was in a salon in the UK, and I used to work with the owner. In her office was like a little building outside in the back garden. And I used to observe this man walking up and down outside the back gate all day. And then quite a mature therapist used to run in and out to him, like almost on the hour. And at lunchtime, she'd go away and then come back again. And so I said to the owner one day, "Who is that man?" And she said, "Oh, that's so and so's husband, and he adores her, and he's always around, and he looks after her so well." And I thought, no, he doesn't. That is serious coercive behavior and control, and like not normal for somebody to be running out to their husband every 5 minutes outside the door, and be taken away for their lunch and be brought back. So I made the decision, and I just thought, right, I used to go to this salon once a month, and I thought, I'll just wait until, I'm not going to say anything today, I'll wait until next month. And if this behavior is still continuing, I'm really going to have to explain to the salon owner that no, he's not crazy about her. It's something completely different. So I've had those sort of experiences. Another time I just happened to be working with the salon owner, and I was supposed to meet her in a certain place, like a restaurant or something. And then she just phoned and said, "No, you've got to come and get me." And I went to go and get her, and I ended up having to literally pull herself and her daughter out on their stomachs out the door. And I thought, why do I keep hearing these things? Why do I keep seeing them? But it was just luck. I was there on the right place at the right time on that day, and that man ended up in jail. So I do spot it, and I do see it, and I very much take your point of the relationship that we have with our clients is so special, so one-to-one. And I think people underestimate the safe environment that the salon actually is. Perpetrators don't go into the salon. They might walk up and down outside, but they don't go in. In my case, appearance was very important. So would have been the one thing that I probably would have been given money to do, because that's the other sign that you don't have very much money, because that's the control thing. They take the money from you. So you have very little money. But I would have been allowed to go to the salon. So the salon is a very, very safe space. And that's part of the idea behind getting the certificate, that when you do your training, you get a certificate. And I know in salons and spas, we love our certificates. And it's just, to find the little space on the wall for the certificate, so that in time, when the brand Shearhaven gets a little bit more known, that people would actually recognise that they were in a very safe space. Yeah. It's a shame, isn't it? It's so sad.
It's so sad. It just breaks my heart, and it just reminds me that there's a whole nother world going out there that on a day-to-day basis we don't get to see, or become behind closed doors. And those stories that you shared with me, it just gives me goosebumps to think that people are living in this kind of daily fearful life, and under threat. It breaks my heart a little bit.
Yeah, but it's reassuring that we're in an industry that we can do something. And I think the really valuable lesson in the training is that we're salon professionals. Like we're not trained in this. So, and it's not up to us to solve the problem. And I think that's the feedback that I got from salon owners when I really launched this in this side, when I launched Shearhaven on this side of the world. The feedback that I continually got was, I didn't know what to do. And I was really worried that people would say to me, "What are you talking about, Liz? Like, nobody comes into our salon." Like, that never happens. Not a single person said that to me. And when I launched here on this side of the world in July 2021, my phone did not stop ringing, and I was on TV, radio interviews for about a month, all trade press, all national press. And so it got very, very high exposure. And nobody said to me, "We don't have experience of that." Without exception, every single person I spoke to, first of all, they were saying, "I had no idea that ever happened to you." And second of all, they were saying, "Now I've done the training, now I know what to do and what to say." Because as an outsider looking in on this situation with anybody, practically you'd just be thinking, "Well, just get up and leave and stop being so stupid." But that's not the case when you're there. And it takes, some people never get to leave. And on average, it takes most people 7 times to leave. So the drawback is so, so huge. And that's what I found really beneficial about the training. It's not telling us what to say to customers. It's just telling us to listen and to judge and not to judge, just to listen and just to be a safe space. And when people are ready to leave, it would be helpful to have the details for your local refuge, just so that you can, when the person is ready to go, that you can just say, look, I found that, there are the details for you. So I think the most valuable thing about the training is it's not telling anybody how to solve it. We can't solve it. But here is a safe space.
I think that's really important, because I think, especially for the kind of people that are in this industry, we're likely to want to help and save and take action because it breaks our heart. So it's really important message. Like, the goal is not for us to save it. The goal to save them. The goal is to be there when they're ready. Can I just go back a step and like that is a really interesting statistic that it takes about 7 attempts to leave. What is it that holds people, or what is it that leads to so many failed attempts? Do you know? What's going on there?
Well, domestic abuse can take all sorts of forms. It could be emotional, it could be physical, it could be sexual, it could be so it could be so many things. But basically, it's coercive behavior. It's power and abuse of power. So, well, if I speak from I'm just going to speak for myself. I think I went into shock. How could somebody behave like this? How could somebody who rings me 1 million times a day tell me how great I am and how much they love me come home and commit such heinous crimes? And I think you go into such shock, and gradually, well, you just lose yourself so badly that you lose all sense of yourself and all sense of your importance, or that you matter in the world. And so by the time you're ready to leave, leaving becomes so terrifying. It's almost like a paradox. So, and we know when you stand up to a bully, I mean, bullies are always cards at the back of it all, aren't they? But when you stand up to a bully, they're going to up the ante. So when you take that chance to leave, their behavior is going to get worse before it gets better. So if you're stuck in an environment and you think, well, this can't get any worse, but if I leave, it's going to get worse. So you stay. So psychologically, you're worn down and you're broken in that way. But then there are practical aspects to it, particularly, and I didn't at the time, but if you have children, if you have no money, if you have nowhere to go, domestic violence is also, there's a lot of shame and guilt around admitting to yourself, but also to other people, that this is the situation that you're in. Bullies tend to present to the world as though they're, great, and I suppose in ways they are. So then, you always think, well, like, nobody's going to believe me. So there's so many reasons to stay, and yeah, I didn't go back. I ran once, but the lure to go back was very strong. Yeah, I would have given in. Yeah. So yes, so people do go back, and interestingly enough, when I went on television about this, when we launched Shearhaven on this side of the world, a salon that I have been going to, just in a personal capacity, to a therapist, who's a long-standing, really good facialist. She didn't know anything about this. She was just eating her cornflakes and saw me on television. And then it was breakfast TV, just to put that in context. And and when I met her again, she said, and just bear with me on this one, but she said, I have a customer who's been coming to me for over 23 years, and her husband has actually chopped off some of her fingers. And she said, she still can't leave. And she said, but now I know what to say, because she said, for those 20 years, I've never known what to say other than just leave. And she said, now I've watched her training, and I know not to say that. Yeah. So it's tough. Yeah.
Liz,
Mm.
that is,
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, they gave me the shivers.
Sorry. Yeah. But I tell that story to just highlight how important you are in the salon, and why might feel like she was just like, I feel helpless, I couldn't do anything. And I was just like, you've no idea the help you've been to that lady.
Oh, yeah, that's nice. Okay, so are there some signs that we should look for that if people aren't forthcoming in their situation, because not everybody shares with us that this is going on for them, and I know some clients do, and they, pour their heart out to us, but sometimes they don't. Are there things that we should be mindful of?
Well, I think it's those hidden signs, isn't it? And also, of course, don't forget it could be a member of staff. So, if somebody's behavior has changed, if somebody's getting very withdrawn, if it's a staff member, if they're cutting themselves off, because part of that power and control is to cut you off from your family and friends and make you very, very, very isolated. So to notice if that is happening in any way. Now, the statistics say that one in 4 women at some point will experience domestic violence, and also 1 in 7. So it is, if you've got a big team, then the chances are, it will be going on with some people. So I think in terms of your team, it's just to notice changes in behavior. And then I think what's really beneficial for us in the capacity of our work is you do get to spot the signs, like that lady that was in the hair salon that day. You might see bruising, you might see finger marks, you might see makeup covering up, choking sign. You'll see the signs. You might see the perpetrator walking up and down outside, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think my big takeaway is that, he's so lovely and so caring and is around all the time. And actually, that's actually not the case.
Most of the time, it could be the case, but yeah. So that's it. Yeah, and they won't come any further. They might come in and pay the bill, but they won't come in. They won't come into the salon any further than that. So yeah, and I think I think the work that we do. I think most people working in salons, you almost develop an extra sense, don't you? Like your intuition becomes so alert and so finely tuned. And I think that actually comes from physically handling handling your clients, over and over and over and over again. You become highly intuitive around people, don't you? And around your clients, and you know if they're off, or if they're not right. Yeah.
Agree.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
So if we've discovered somebody who we think, okay, because I know for some of you listening, you're going to go, oh, Jemima, you already know who you're thinking of. So what should we do, Liz? Who should we call? What is the first step?
So the first step would be, to empower ourselves, and that would be to do the training. So the training is called Shearhaven. There is a website called shearhaven.org, and it's also on my website. My name is just my name, lizmckeon.com. So I think the first thing to do would be to understand the situation. And the easiest way to do that is just to download the training. It is 20 minutes. You could do it on the bus going home. You could do it while you're eating your sandwich at lunchtime. So just do the training. You're just there as a support. And I think have the refuge details ready if somebody needs it. That's as much as we can do. I think our natural inclination, because we love our clients so much, is to get furious on their behalf. That believe me, does not help. That does not help in any shape or form. So I think it's just to know, to listen, but not to judge the perpetrator, not to judge the person in your chair or on the couch or in your bed, not to judge where they're at or what they're doing or how they got themselves into that situation, and certainly not to think that it's up to you to fix it. It's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think those are some wise words right there.
Yeah.
We'll make sure that we put the link to Shearhaven on this episode in the show notes.
Thank you very much.
Liz, you're a business owner many times over. What is a quote or a mantra or something that's served you well that you keep going back to that helps you keep focused as an owner?
I have a couple. I think in relation to my own work, or in relation to my own career path, I love just let's keep it simple. If at first you don't succeed, just try. Just keep going. And I think, I think that's always served me well, because things don't always turn out as you want. They don't always turn out as you planned. I think as business owners, there's just curveballs one day after the next, isn't there? It's always the things that you haven't planned that just, the black swan just coming from nowhere. You just keep going. And I think if you fall backwards so you can still see the light, you pick yourself up.
I like that one. Yeah, I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, fall backwards. You can still see. Don't fall forwards into the dark. Fall backwards so you just pick yourself up and you go again. And I think that's what makes you successful, isn't it? So that's.
I agree. I agree with that one. Do you know, good old fashioned grit, Liz? Do you know, try again, have another go. Try again, have another go. If it's not working, try something else. But I think the only time we fail is when we give up.
I think so, yeah. And failing is fine, because how do you learn? We don't learn when everything's going great. We only learn when things are hard and tough, and when we're on cruise control, we don't learn and grow. And I think as a business owner, you have to learn and grow and work on yourself, as well as working on your business, as well as working in your business. And baby steps, just little baby steps that you just keep going. So I think on a personal, as a personal trait, I think to build up that ability to keep going is good. And then I was thinking today, and I have this quote in my book, because when I work with business owners, and you're probably the same, we have to have a focus on the money, whether we're numbers people or not. Money in, money out. If cash flow isn't right, then you're not right. You don't sleep properly. Nothing is working. So the money is important. And sometimes people give me a little bit of feedback. I'm not a numbers person, but I would be encouraging people to have a handle on their figures. And people say, but you're always talking about the numbers and the figures, and staff are always saying, why are you always talking about money? And then I have my favorite quote, and I often talk about it when I'm on the stage or speaking at trade shows and things. My favorite phrase is not mine. It's from Estee Lauder, where her quote was, if I believe in something, I sell it, and I sell it hard. And I think, well, so when people criticize me, I say, well, if I believe in something, I sell it, and I sell it hard. And that was Estee Lauder's quote. And she was the most, I would think, one of probably the most successful people in the cosmetics industry globally ever. I think, well, it was good enough for her. It's good enough. So if that was good enough for Estee Lauder, it's good enough for all of you, and it's good enough for me. So get selling.
I actually love that, Liz, and I love that you've brought that up, because too many people are fearful of being salespeople to the detriment of providing a good service. I don't want to sell, but it actually affects your quality of being able to deliver a good service. You have to be commercially viable. And you have to provide people the things that they need, even if they don't know that they need it yet. So I really love that. I think as an industry, we need to not be fearful of selling. Selling is good. Old shoe salesmen and car salesmen, those days have gone. We're in a new era now. So become good salespeople.
Yeah,
it's your job.
It's just your job.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. I love that a lot.
Good.
All right, Liz, do you have a book or a podcast or something that you've listened to recently that you think all salon owners should get their hands on? Now, I know you have a book that I would love to hear about also, but maybe something that you've been listening to or reading recently.
I don't know if I'm the only one like this, but I really have to be self-disciplined on this, because I think since social media I could sit down in an evening and waste an hour just scrolling. And then I say to myself, if you had spent that time reading a book or watching a podcast, then you would have learned more. So I have to discipline myself to say, okay, you can have X amount of time after you've done the work. And I think it's fuel, isn't it? So I think as business owners, it's absolute fuel. You have to keep working on yourself. So at the moment, I like as a podcast called The Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett. I like that because I like the fact that he's learning and he openly admits that he brings on guests so that he can learn more to fuel up his life and his world. And I love the fact that he brings on experts who are at the top of their field. And I think even if you're just too tired to read, then you can watch or listen to that. So I say to myself, right, okay, you can look at Netflix and learn nothing, or you can watch a really good podcast. And even if it's only 10 minutes, at least it's the right content going into your mind. And another person I'd be very fond of is Jay Shetty. And I don't know if you watch him, and I like his acronym of TIME, time. So to spend time every day being thankful, spend a little bit of time on some sort of inspirational content, even if it's only one page of a book, to meditate every day and to do your exercise. So I think if we've got to be at our best with our clients, then I think we've got to look after ourselves first of all. And I think we're all challenged with that because the nature of us all, I think, is to just keep giving to other people, but we've got to fuel up ourselves first of all. So I do work on the discipline, yeah. So
Yeah, I love that.
They're
That's
my
great.
favorite at the moment. Yeah.
Yes, very good. Okay, tell us about your book, Liz.
So my book, I'm showing off now, is called 30 Days to Beauty Business Success. And the background to the book is I started writing columns in magazines in about 2007. So I've been a columnist for that length of time now. And I was very lucky starting off. My editor just let me write whatever I wanted every month. So as I was working my way around Salons, if I saw an issue like dealing with complaints or, time management or whatever, I would go and research that. And then I would write my article on that. And then I used to just collect all my articles. And I used to say, someday this will be a book. And one day I got an email from my editor at the time, and she emailed and said, I'm so sorry, I can't keep giving you the free space. We have to give the space in the magazine to paying advertisers and companies. And I emailed her back and I said, you have done me the best favor ever, because, and I said, I am now going to write a book and you are going to have a copy of my book on your desk. That was October time. You will have it by Easter next year. So, but I was lucky. I had gathered up the content over the years, and then. But I think we all have a book in us, don't we? And I just, yeah. So I've made the book. I made the book very, very user friendly. It took me a long time to find a designer who could work with me, because I thought, if this is just black and white plain writing, nobody's going to buy my book. Or they'll buy it or they won't use it. So I have it divided into categories, which are customer service, how to manage your money, acquiring clients, sales, people, and how to take care of yourself. And it's very user friendly. You can read it in 30 days, or you can just, dip in and dip out of it. There's lots of little exercises, and it's very colourful and very easy to use. Yeah.
That sounds perfect for this industry.
Yes,
That's
it
great.
is. Yeah. Even if I say so myself, yes, it is.
Liz, I really appreciate what you're doing in the industry. I really appreciate what you're doing for the clients of the industry. This has been eye-opening, but it's been really, really great. And I'll make sure the link to all of those resources are in the show notes of this episode. And
you're so
thanks
kind.
for joining me and
spending
your evening with me.
Oh, I really appreciate it, and it's lovely to talk to you. And hopefully someday we'll meet.
Indeed, absolutely.
Thank you so much. Well, you have a great day. I'm going to have a great night.
Enjoy your wine.
I will do. Thank you so much, Larissa.
Okay, well, that was an eye-opening episode, and I feel super grateful to have this podcast where we can give you the tools on how you can support your clients, your team, or even yourself when it comes to someone experiencing domestic abuse. And it's something that whether it's part of your world or not, it can be hard to spot and recognize someone's pain, but you could give them the encouragement that they need and access to some amazing tools that will help them. I'll put the link in the show notes of this episode to the 20-minute Shearhaven training session. It's in the show notes, and there's a few other links in there as well below. So a big thank you again to Liz for joining me on the Salon Owners Collective podcast and for bringing to light this heartbreaking issue. It was certainly eye-opening. All right, that's all from me. Same time, same place next week on the podcast. Ciao for now.